Okay. Well, greetings from St. Louis, Missouri.
Most definitely, most definitely. I have never been there. I hope to go there one day in my life, what have you. And how you doing tonight?
I am doing fabulous. I have had a stressful year, but
Mm.
2024 is starting off great.
Oh yeah, because I know my past year was very transitional a lot,
Oh, yes.
and I don't think it's going to stop this year. I do not think it's going to stop this year because
Well, it's definitely going to be transitional for me, but hopefully in all the most positive ways.
mm, most definitely. So I see because one of the main reasons why I wanted to talk to you, interview you,
Uh-huh.
was you use spaces, and I see that a lot of us in this world are
Yes.
starting to use spaces a whole lot. So, what is the benefits of using spaces, and what have you? 'Cause I mean, some be just general conversation, some is information, some is just a bunch of bullshit. But but for you, what do you get from using space? Because you not only just participate, you also run your own.
Well, I've only really ran my own a handful of times. I
Mm-hmm.
just recently, in the last 2 weeks, learned how to run a space.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, for me personally, I've been on Twitter since 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't even know about spaces. And I wasn't interested in it. But then someone invited me to a space over the summer,
Yeah.
and I participated and I enjoyed it. And I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And then I decided to diversify my business and start doing content.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am going to be launching probably the second or third week of February, a loyal fans page and a fansly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been a professional dominatrix for 30 years. I've been a lifestyle dom for 35 years. So, and I've been modeling for artists and since I was 19 and I'm 54.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of content to comb through
Oh
because
yeah.
I've also really always enjoyed making my own home movies.
Ooh.
So I'm trying to, contact people and get releases and that kind of thing for the stuff that I really want to include.
But see, the interesting part is because that's why I think a lot of these like sites don't get is that a lot of us that been filming content, whether it was professionally or unprofessionally, what have you, trying to find the people to get the right paperwork. And
Exactly.
it's a
It's
lot,
a mess
and
because a lot of these people I've lost touch with years ago,
mm,
and I'm finding the stuff on my hard drive because I've saved it.
mm,
I probably have about 1.5 T worth of stuff. And I'm going through it and trying to figure out like what can I use, what can I use.
mm,
Of course, all the solo stuff I know I can use.
mm,
And I am in contact with a few of the people that were lovers, not clients.
yeah,
you know, and I'm trying to get a hold of them. And then they want, of course, to make sure that their privacy is protected.
yeah,
So they want, after I edit it, to review it. And so it's
yeah,
been an arduous process. But
mm,
going back to why I've been participating in spaces is why I continue to participate in spaces was to network and to find content creators
mm,
that were into the kinds of things that I'm into
mm,
that I can shoot with. And for me, it's a process because I decided a while ago, probably about 10 years ago,
mm.
that I wasn't going to fuck anybody that I wasn't into. I had to find something about that person that I found personally attractive to shoot, to just, fuck them in my free time.
Yeah. Because even because you said 10 years ago, what was interesting is that a lot of girls weren't trying to do content then. It was more of, let's just keep it 100. If they did porn, it was to boost their escorting.
Yeah.
And they were more into the escorting than even thinking about porn. Because you remember the Bush recession and
Honey,
the
I have,
floodgates opened
oh yes,
for
of course.
Craigslist and
The
Backpage
first
back then.
floodgates opened in 2008, 2007. Then another floodgate opened during the pandemic.
Yeah. And
And it
that was about the
changed the
content.
industry completely because when I entered the industry,
Yeah.
I entered the industry in 1993, working for an escort agency. I started as a Dom because I trained as a Dom in my personal life because of my, the networking I had done in the community. And so I had the wonderful opportunity to train under some male and female DOMs out in San Francisco. I was living in Kansas City at the time. Also, and how I got that opportunity was I met a Dom in Kansas City that I bottomed to.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew, once he figured out he couldn't get me to submit, and then I wasn't just being a bratty, I was actually a power bottom,
Mm-hmm.
or and I was Dom leaning more so than submissive. He decided to train me as a Dom. And part of the reason he decided to was, honey, those student loans came due. Because I went to college in the 80s. By the time I finished college the first time, it was 1991. Those student loans came due in 92. And I was like, how am I going to pay this shit and maintain my lifestyle?
Mm-hmm.
And I was
I don't no goddamn joke.
complaining to him about it
I
one.
didn't even finish college and I'm still.
Yeah. And I was complaining to him one day about that. And I was like, oh my God, I might have to move home. The idea of moving home filled me with terror because I knew that it would totally change my lifestyle. I had been on my own for about 3 years at that point, and I didn't want to have to go back home. And my parents had said, well, we're not giving you any money, but you can come home and you can, spend, save up your money and pay off the student loans. And I was like, oh, fuck no, I'm not doing that, because they were very fundamentalist Christian. And I had come out in 89. I had, you know, come out as queer. We didn't have the term back then, pansexual or polysexual or omnisexual,
Oh
but
no,
that's
it
what
was it. If you
I.
want to be technical about it, it was three things. You was either, actually, if you want to be more technical about it, you was either straight,
Mm-hmm.
lesbian, or gay. And
Exactly.
lesbian and gay went together
I
because
was,
the dude was gay, the woman was lesbian.
yeah, exactly. And I was bisexual, which was frowned upon in the
Yeah.
Midwest at that time, and so frowned upon that when we tried to get a float into Gay Pride Kansas City the first time, they wouldn't allow us to have a float because they said that it was the Gay Pride parade and we weren't gay.
See, and with that being said, people, you see what type of show we about to have.
Yeah.
But you know that I'm a dom, so I loving this. So welcome, smokers, to the
Yeah.
Smokers Lounge. You know
Hey.
who I am. I'm Kevin Officer Champ, aka the Porn Rap Star. Find all my links with one link, allmylinks.com/Porn Rap Star. 3 sponsors to tell y'all about. The first one being the Facebook of the LS community, lsworld.com. Next up, the House of Dope magazine, the Game of Racism magazine.com. And last but not least, award-winning, award-nominated. They give you voiceover with their smut, and they even have a award-nominated virtual reality side of their website. I'm talking about none other than blusherotica.com. Also, people, you know the Premium Smoke Room has a new home, and she just said where's hers is. It's the same place where mine is at. LoyalFans.com. You know what it is, the Premium Smoke Room. 5 premium podcasts for you to enjoy. 3 sexy co-hosts for you to look at and hear them give them hot takes. And we discuss the industry in depth. with no filter. Also, you know it gets wilder, it gets crazier, it gets more unpredictable, it gets more candid, it gets more provocative. The tits might come out, dildos might come out. You don't know unless you subscribe. $25.99 a month, and you can even see me in action in the video store. Also, proud member of the GW District Black Podcasting Network. So go over to shopgwdistrict.com and buy something, why don't you? Also, find me 5 days out the week in the mornings at fullswapradio.com. Also, check me out on the SkyhawkAfterDarkTV.com as well as the BGP LLC app. And let me not forget to mention you're listening to a AVN Award nominated podcast.
Hello.
So I'm going to tote that. So with that being said, I'm going to sit back and submissives, subs, bitch boys,
Hey.
pigs, get on your knees, get in the position with your palms up, and show respect is this mistress, goddess, film Domme, OG, introduce herself. Go ahead, baby.
I am Belle de Jour of St. Louis. I chose the name Belle de Jour because of this classic film done by an extraordinary director named Louis Bernard. It came out in 1967, and it was my film introduction to a woman who was a switch. And the actress who played her was Catherine Deneuve, who is now a sexy, mature woman. But at the time, she was a femme fatale, and she had never done anything outside of a very sweet, demure lady before she did this film with Louis Bernard. And she did 3 films with him, all on the topic of the bizarre, the taboo, and the unusual.
I'm going to tell you, truthfully, my first introduction into BDSM film wise, and I didn't realize it was an introduction, was the Corsican Brothers with Cheech and Chong. Because if you watch the Corsican Brothers, it's a lot of BDSM kind of imagery in there. Even to the point where the God, I can't figure his name. What he supposed to being like the king or what have you. That was the first. They had the actual cross that used.
St. Andrew's Cross.
Yes, and he was whooping. He was getting whooped. It was enjoying it, and then you, of course, you had one of the Corsican brothers because one supposed to be able to feel the other's pain, so they couldn't fight each other, so they sitting there stab each other in the dick. You get what I'm saying? To me, it's kind of like BDSM been around forever.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I was first introduced to it through literature.
Mm-hmm.
I used to hide. I was a very, very bookish young girl,
Mm-hmm.
and I used to spend a lot of time in the library. And
Mm-hmm.
my parents would never monitor
Mm-hmm.
what I did when I went to the library or the books I brought home. So I remember the first time I read erotica was the Diaries of Anais Nim, and I was probably about 10 or 11 years old. By the time I was 12 or 13, I was reading Marquis de Sade, The Story of O. I had read Venus in Furs, and I realized that the librarians didn't pay attention to me as long as I was quiet and I was polite and I helped them clear the tables when they were getting ready to close. And I could sit back in the stacks and read whatever I wanted. And so as I got older, I think probably by the time I was 13, I started reading the psychology books on abnormal sexuality. And I was just fascinated by all of it. So I kind of made my reservation at that time for what I ultimately started doing later in life.
Mm-hmm. So how was BDSM back then versus now?
Well, you know, I am of the old school, of course, or shall we say older school. And when I was, I mean, I was just very much experimenting with my first submissive. I had my first submissive at 19.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a junior in college, and he was a grad student. And one day he said, "Hey, do you mind if we use handcuffs?" And I said, "Absolutely not, as long as I'm the one that's cuffing you."
Wait a second. How did you meet the son? Wait a second. How did that conversation even start for it to get there?
Okay. We're going back to me being a bookish freak. Okay. I didn't lose my virginity until I was 17 and a freshman in college.
Okay.
And so I had this whole list. I had literally written down a list of things I wanted to try. So when me and this guy started fooling around, because we weren't dating, I had a girlfriend and I had a boyfriend, and he was a piece on the side. So, because I got my first boyfriend the summer before I went to college when I was 16, I got my first girlfriend the second week of college when I was 17, and then I was seeing both of them. Well, by the time I went to Europe when I was 18, I spent like a year and a half in Europe. When I got back from Europe, I was a lot more experienced.
Practically, you was very mature for your age mentally and intellectually.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
be honest with you.
So when I was talking to him about the things I'd like to try, I was telling him about BDSM, and I was telling him about the things I had read about and how I might want to try some of them.
Mhm.
So one day he shows up at my dorm and he says, "Hey, I went and got a pair of handcuffs. Do you mind using handcuffs when we have sex today?" And I said, "Not at all, as long as I'm the one cuffing you."
And it began from there. now, now it's because I know back then it was really very much a
And
subculture.
this was 1988.
Yeah, cause think then it was very taboo because people don't realize how taboo that lifestyle. Porn was taboo
It
enough.
wasn't just taboo, sweetheart. I was at a fundamentalist Christian college. So we couldn't have sex without being expelled from school. So we couldn't get caught having sex
Damn,
or we'd be
that's
expelled
BYU.
from school.
God.
And I
Woo.
was on scholarship. And
That's
I was pre-med on scholarship. So I wasn't going to risk getting expelled from school.
you know
So
they
it
say
was
Christians are the
ultra
biggest freaks.
taboo.
There you go. Christians are the biggest freaks, people.
Oh, hell the fuck yes. I ate so
Catholic,
much
they
pussy in
very
college.
freaky.
I ate so much Christian girl pussy in college because the boys wouldn't eat pussy.
Yeah.
And the girls wanted to experiment. And so, I kind of let it, drop that, you're pretty. I think you're pretty. I find you attractive in more than the friend kind of way. And then eventually it was, "Oh, do you want to fool around?" "Yeah, as long as we don't get caught or you don't tell on me." And then it went from there.
Oh my God. So shoot. So when did it become professional?
It became professional in 1993 after I completed my training
Mhm.
with the Dom that was training me, because he had been a professional Dom out in San Francisco, in a couple of the Dom houses out in San Francisco. And when I met him through a stripper girlfriend of mine at the time. And she introduced us by way of, she was getting her nipple re-pierced,
Mm.
and he was the only piercer in town.
Mm.
And so I went with her to hold her hand while she got her nipple re-pierced. And I thought he was the sexiest fucking thing I had ever seen. He had incision piercings, and he was tattooed from his scalp down to his knees. And I was just like, "Oh my God, I've never seen in person anyone like him." I had been in love with Mapplethorpe's imagery
Mhm.
throughout the 80s. And this guy looked like, a couple of the guys that I used to beat off to, you know, in Maplethorpe's, porn, kind of artistic porn.
Yeah.
And so we're leaving we're going out to the car after she got her nipple re-pierced. And I say to her, "Oh my God, I noticed the chemistry between you guys. Have you fucked him?" And she goes, "Yeah, I fucked him." I said, "Is he good fuck?" And she goes, "Yeah, but he's so freaky. He's into all this weird shit like domination and submission and all this stuff. And he was just too much for me." I said, "Bitch, can I go back in and get his number? Is that going to be a problem for you?" And she goes, "No." I said, "Great." So I went back into the salon and I told him, I was like, "I think we need to fuck. Do you want my phone number?" And he said, "Yes." So I gave him my phone number and it went from there. And I met him in 91 and we played consistently until 2002.
Oh my goodness. So
And and then we reunited in 2012. But unfortunately, when we reunited in 2012, I had grown past him.
yeah.
So it didn't work for me.
Yeah. So it's so in 93, how did you find the submissives, the
Okay.
customer submissives?
Well, okay. How I found them was, I was relying on the man who trained me
Yeah.
to help me choose a good agency to work for.
Okay.
So, we went through the local sex rags, which at the time was like Night Flight
Yeah.
and Pitch.
Mhm.
And so we went through the ads and he goes, "Don't apply this place, apply this place, don't apply this place."
Hold on. I want to preface something. Ads is in what? Newspaper, newsletters. Am I correct?
Yes.
Let's make that clear. This is no
Like
internet.
the magazine you only found in adult stores. So you had to go to the sex shop to get Night Flight. The Pitch was a local ad generated um, newspaper magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And it had back pages.
And that where they got the turn back page from.
Because it wasn't called back pages at the time. It was just the back pages of this magazine.
Yeah, at some places it really was I know in the independent it was the personal ads.
Yes.
And that where they had the massages.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And but it had, but the agencies had, sometimes full page ads in the back of these magazines. So he had trained two other DOMs before me who were working currently in the industry. And they didn't want to network with me because I was not white and I was, in their mind, competition because he had tossed them aside to play with me. So, but he knew enough from having helped them get into the business to help me get into the business in the town we were living in.
Yeah. Yeah, because it same situation with with me to a certain extent on the porn side. Girls, when I was active, when they came to shoot for my company, they wanted to post up. So because I had knowledge of it from dealing with females that did it prior to porn, it kind of, you know what I'm saying, helped them because I'm the kind of person, if you don't do it, I want you to do it right, correctly, and safely and make the most money. So you keep coming back. So we shoot and I can get my money.
Because very motivated to help me make money so that I could stay in town so I could continue to be his playmate.
Yeah. That's how it works, what have you. And see, that was so funny because see, this generation could never fathom if you had to do a newspaper.
Oh, sometimes you had to write letters. You had to respond to letters.
Yeah. So shoot, so it's like, so with with the submissives, what have you, how extreme did some of these submissives work?
Oh, honey. You know, I think the first extreme submissive was when I started working for an escort agency.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was a another agency
Mm-hmm.
that they networked with.
Mm-hmm.
All the high-end agencies networked with one another because a lot of the same ladies worked for all of the different agencies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we were not independent so much as we were free to work for whomever could make
Yeah.
us money.
Make you money. So
Okay.
and see that's the thing. So my smokers can understand that agencies. It the girls that made the big bucks back then, they worked through an agency. They was
Yeah.
not independents or what some pimps call renegades. So
But at the same time, you could work for multiple agencies,
Mhm.
but you could only work for multiple agencies that had the same tier of client.
Yeah.
So, like, if you worked for a low end agency that
Mhm.
dealt in drugs, that dealt in trafficking, that
Mhm.
dealt in, what they consider to be low end shit,
Yeah.
the high end agencies wouldn't fuck with you.
Yeah. Because also to a certain extent some of the girls had pimps. So
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
it's like this, let's be real, there were less dominatrix with them agencies than
Absolutely.
it was
I
prostitutes.
got into the industry. I was the only dominatrix of color for the first 5 years I was in my city.
Mm-mm. Mm. That should tell y'all something. See that
Now,
why?
I'm not saying there weren't other dominatrix of
Yeah,
color. They just weren't working for any of the high-end agencies.
yeah. But see, the reasoning. But like I said, the reasoning why because let's keep it 100. The game was
Racism.
different because
It was
we why.
racism, and I was light skinned. I'm going to be completely honest about that. Part of it also was how you carried yourself.
Yeah,
Could the person get through the lobby of the Ritz Carlton?
yeah, yeah.
Would this person steal from the client? And they had stereotypes associated
With
with African American, providers, because
mm-hmm,
we called them providers back then.
mm-hmm.
And um, if you weren't well spoken and articulate and college educated, the high end agencies didn't want to hire you.
Yeah, because you couldn't fit in. You couldn't fit in.
You couldn't
You
fit
know
in.
what I'm saying?
And
Because
you were afraid of what kind of bullshit you'd bring back to their door.
bingo. Because they ain't trying to catch no heat.
No, no, because they had connections with government, they
Mm,
had connections with the police, they had connections, and they stayed without having any trouble because they didn't cause any trouble and they caused no drama.
mm-hmm,
Now, I'm not saying that the way they conducted their businesses was correct.
mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that at that time I benefited from it.
Yeah. I mean, it's consenting adults. I mean, they don't give a damn, and it. And plus, like I tell people, being a dom and an escort prostitute is two totally different
Very
things.
different. Because let me tell you what, I took a job with an agency.
Mm-hmm,
The first agency I worked for them for 10 days.
mm-hmm,
Now, I was making more money than I had ever made before in my life,
mm-hmm.
but they were a 50% agency, which was standard at that time. They took 50% of your money. Now,
Yeah.
you had to charge a minimum of $300.
Mm.
So I got $150.
Now I'm gonna ask you this: was there a time limit for the session?
Yes, it was $300 an hour.
Okay.
And the limit was according to how much that person wanted to pay.
Mm-hmm. But see, y'all never went under the hour though.
No, never.
And see, once again, people, See, I'm giving y'all the story here. I'm giving y'all you know what I'm saying, the journey here on this. You feel me? There was no quick visits, 30 minutes, no.
No,
Hour
absolutely
or
not.
better.
Exactly. And if you left before the hour was up, it was because the client sent you away.
Mm-hmm.
But when you arrived, you checked their identification, you verified with the agency that you were checking their ID, that you were there, everything was okay. And then the agency called you 45 minutes into the appointment, made sure you were okay, made sure you were leaving in 5 minutes because really the hour was 50 minute hour.
Yeah.
A 50 not yeah 50-minute hour. And they always sent you with a driver.
Mm-hmm.
And if you didn't report back with the agency within 55 minutes of when you started the appointment, the driver came and knocked on the door.
Mm-hmm. See, there you go. So now let's move into the internet age because
Now,
how
on
did you
in 1995.
so what?
In 1995, I first got on the internet.
Okay, so now the internet is a different beast.
Yeah.
Um,
But also,
how did
too,
you transition with that?
I became independent in January of 1994
Okay.
because I started with an agency in June of 1993. And then the agency I was working for, like I said, I only worked for them for 10 days. And I was recruited by another agency because they had heard about me from a client and they decided to recruit me. So I got recruited to a higher end agency that only charged $60 an hour and with a 2 hour minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And their minimum amount you could charge for an hour was 300. So
Mm-hmm.
I was making, instead of $150 an hour, I was making $240 an hour,
Mm-hmm.
a 2 hour minimum.
Mm. Beautiful.
That was more money than I had ever seen before in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But when I started with the agency, I could only see the agency owners,
Yeah.
personal clients
Mm-hmm.
for the first 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
while I was on probation. And
Mm-hmm.
after I got off probation, she had a consultation with me, and then I was allowed to book my own appointments.
Yeah. See, because it like I tell anybody, it's agencies, even from porn to that side of the world, was very essential to sex work, sex
Absolutely.
trade.
In the beginning, before
Yeah,
the internet.
yeah, because there was a barrier between catch, you know what I'm saying, dealing with bullshit. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't no time wasting with that. You feel me?
Exactly. Because when they called you and said, I have a client for you,
Mm-hmm.
but you negotiate your rate,
Mm-hmm.
you knew you had that appointment. It was just a matter of negotiating your rate.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason they did it like that was so that you could upsell.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm gonna ask you this now, because what's interesting when the rush to Backpage happened in
Yeah.
2002, 2008, right?
Oh, it happened before that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It started because I ain't even go front. It
It
was
started
like
in the
because I
90s.
was.
It started in the 90s.
Oh yeah, because even to like one of the girls that I met, you know, they always talk about Hypnotic. Shouts out to her. You know what I'm saying? Curvy Hypnotic, that's my homie. She she wanted to introduce me to what they were doing on Craigslist. You know what I'm saying? So
Honey, I
and
got Craigslist when Craigslist first started.
mm-hmm,
But see, when the second agency I ever worked for, she sold her business in January of 1994. And
mm-hmm,
she told me, sweetheart, don't work for the motherfuckers that are buying my business because they get the girls strung out, they're
mm-hmm.
mobbed up. You don't want to do that.
Ooh,
So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to forget to lock up my good call list and my bad call list tonight.
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to go to Kinko's and you're going to photocopy all of that and
Mm-hmm.
you're going to leave $200 on my desk.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can be independent or run your own agency.
Mm.
So I started running my own agency in January of 1994.
So now you go from working the agency to actually being the boss of the agency. So how did that work out for
It worked out great for about a year. And then one of my golden rules got broken by one of the ladies who worked with me.
you?
And I shut everything down, took a vacation of 6 months, and then came back as an independent.
Mm-hmm. You say I can't deal with these damn women.
You know what I said? My exact words were, I'm done with hurting cats. And what I meant by cats was, I'm done with hurting pussy.
Yeah. Trust me, from me managing females, it's rough. I don't care what none of you women say. I'm sorry, no disrespect, but
No
it's rough.
disrespect. No, no, look, I don't I don't see it that way because you know what? I went through the experience
Yeah.
and it was great with everyone but one person.
Yes.
And that one person spoiled the pot for everyone.
Yeah. 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 That is so fucking true. And trust me, I know the feeling because it's always that one that it's like they lack patience.
Yeah. I had two golden rules when I was running an escort agency.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, you have a problem, you come to me. Number two, don't ever do or deal drugs to the clients because that's going to get us all in federal lockup.
Yes.
And mama ain't going there. So,
so 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 now,
rules.
oh my goodness. So now you are now doing content. You know what I'm saying? They're playing
And,
this game of putting out content, filming, and stuff like that.
yes.
So how often do you film and what do you film?
Okay. So far, I've only managed to film once every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I film two different kinds of content. I film me as a power bottom,
Mm-hmm.
so the people that I bottom to,
Mm-hmm.
and me as a dom.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I have the two different platforms I'm going to be presenting on.
Mm-hmm.
Because loyal fans is going to be the less extreme things.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's going to be more so my independent content because I do have a masochistic side.
Mm-hmm.
I will do self suspension. I will do, masturbation. But it's all involves some form of BDSM
Mm-hmm.
because, like I said, I'm lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
This is not just something I do for the camera
Yeah.
or I do for money.
Yeah.
It's something I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't often, I want my submissives to have the opportunity to see me in a bottom position
Mm-hmm.
or a semi submissive position.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm gonna ask you this. All right, because I had this conversation with my friend Princess Dandy. Shout out to her. She said some of her submissives feel that when she getting fucked, she is submissive. I was
Yeah.
like, that's not true.
Yeah, but they do. They do. Because a lot of my submissives will actually email me the initial email and say, I don't want to fuck. I don't want you to suck my dick. I don't want any type of sexual services.
Mm-hmm.
I just want my fetishes to be catered to.
Mm-hmm.
And to be quite frank, those are the submissives I prefer. Okay, because I know I'm not going to have to argue with them
Mm-hmm.
about what I do and don't do as a dom.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then you have those who are actually looking for a fetish escort. And what I mean by a fetish escort is someone who is open to fucking and sucking and doing all of that, but at the same time include
The fact.
BDSM and domination in their session.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not who I am as a dom,
Mm-hmm.
but that's how I am in my personal life,
Mm-hmm.
which is two very different things.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Now go ahead. What you about to say? I'm sorry.
No, what I was going to say is, and people don't, a lot of times people think that because they're paying for a session,
Mm-hmm.
you should do whatever they want you to do in the session. But that's not being dominated. That's topping from the bottom. And I don't tolerate that bullshit.
so so it's like this, right? Now, as the OnlyFans came in, it before this, it actually the boom happened before. But
Oh, absolutely.
you know what I'm saying? But it got more saturated and a little bit absurd because I know you see it on Twitter. We you know how we do on the smokers lounge.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm about to go there.
Yeah, go there, baby.
Every girl's a fucking film dom. Every girl is a financial dom. And why is that so popular among these girls? Is it before you answer?
Say
Is
something that's
it
very unpopular. I'm going
huh?
to say something that's very unpopular
Go
that
ahead. I'm gonna
me
sit back. You
thrown
got the
out of
floor.
spaces. It's got me thrown out of spaces. It's gotten people to, unfollow me.
On out of here. We keep it 100. Go ahead.
Is that, like I said, I'm from a different generation. So I did fend on
Mm-hmm.
back in the day. We had all that back in the day. This ain't nothing new. Y'all didn't invent shit. Like my dad used to love to tell me, you young people think you invented shit.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all invent shit. We had all of that back in my day. And my father was born in 1918. And his first job when he moved north after he graduated high school and ran away from them crackers that was trying to lynch his ass
Mm-hmm.
was as an enforcer for the mob, black mob. He ran numbers and he was an enforcer. And he was a boxer. So my dad, before he became an ultra Christian minister of the church,
Mm-hmm.
was a low down and dirty motherfucker.
That well, my dad never became a minister of the church, but y'all know the story. Smokers Lounge.
Exactly.
Y'all know the family tree. I don't need to say it. Go ahead.
He used to love to say to me once I got grown, you young people think you invented shit. Y'all didn't invent shit. We had all that back in my day. The only difference was we had better music and we dressed better. And my dad died at 99 years old in 2017.
Mm, he lived a
I
long,
took care of
less
him
life.
till then.
Yeah,
That's why I ended up back in St. Louis. I moved, back to St. Louis was to take care of my mom and daddy.
oh my goodness. So shoot. So yeah, because I mean, to me, it's like even when I look at on the men's side of it, it's I tell a dude straight up, if you fucking your sub a lot, I think you're missing the point. It's it's mental, it's energy exchange, it's all those things.
Absolutely. And that's the thing about it. When I first got into business, I literally did not take my panties off for the first 2 years.
You're not supposed to. If
And
it's a
people
combination.
did not believe me that I did not do that. And the only reason after the first 2 years I started taking my panties off
Mm,
was because of my own desires. It
mm,
had nothing to do with what my clients were asking of me.
mm.
And there were clients that were not open to that.
Mm-hmm.
Even now, I have clients that have no desire to see me naked. And I respect their boundaries.
Well, see, the reason why, because the sexuality of a dominatrix is different than that of the sexuality of a porn star.
Absolutely.
And so people can understand what I mean by that is the way that a sub looks at his mistress is not the same as a dude on Pornhub looking at a porn star. It's a different level of love, of adornment shit. Yeah.
A worship.
Say it again. Say it again for him.
Worship.
Yes. That's what it comes down to. That's a different, higher plane of love. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like it. I think,
I wouldn't say higher. I would say different.
yeah.
Plane of admiration, idolization,
Hmm.
and worship.
Hmm. Yeah. Because even to me, it's like it. I tell anybody, the sub chooses the dom. It's not the other way around.
Absolutely. And people think, oh, I'm especially okay, going back to the femdom thing, peace, going back to the femdom thing.
Yeah.
They think they're in charge.
Hmm.
They are not in charge. The submissive chooses you. Actually, the submissive is in charge. So when I have suggested to in spaces to groups of femdoms that they do a consultation with a potential submissive
Yes.
before they attempt to dominate them,
Hmm.
find out what their kinks are, find out what their boundaries are, what their soft boundaries are, what their hard boundaries are, what basically makes them tick. They tell me, girl, you don't know shit. You don't know how the world works now. You don't know what's going on. And I'm like, no, I do, sweetie, and I'm trying to help you up your game.
Hmm.
Because if I wasn't able to make a living doing this for the last 30 years, would I still be doing it?
True that. You know, you can't tell youngsters nothing.
I'm just saying. No, I mean, you're old. You're OG too. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm trying to explain to them how you get a long-term submissive.
Hmm.
I had a submissive that stayed with me for 25 years. That was the longest term. The shortest term I've had, who's a monthly submissive, it's been 3 years now, going into the fourth year. Now, do you think I am not arrogant enough to think I'm the prettiest? I'm definitely not the youngest
Hmm.
or the sexiest, but I have found out what makes them tick. I have taken the time to get to know them. I've taken the time to respect their boundaries. I've taken the time to find out what their allergies are, what their health issues are, all the things that go into making them a person. And I have used all that information to sculpt fantasies that turn them on
Yeah. Because
and make them feel safe.
yeah. Because see, the whole point of it is that even though BDSM is cool now, it's still shame with it with the submissive because they don't want the world to know their kink. Because no matter what, is we sit here and say we progressive bullshit. Y'all will judge a motherfucker if
And
we told you
especially
he's
when it
kink.
comes to African American males,
Yes.
there's this overdeveloped sense of masculinity that has nothing to do with reality, where African American cannot be a submissive. African American male cannot be a submissive, or he's a punk, or he's a bitch, or he's a faggot, or
Yeah.
he's letting some bitch rule him. Well, you know what? If that's what he wants and it's between two consenting adults and boundaries are being respected, who the fuck is to say that isn't what needs to be done?
No, see, what people don't realize, strength is being who you are. Weakness is hiding it. And that's what they we got it twisted. You get what I'm saying? Because it's like I always make this joke. A dude cannot go in the barbershop, and I don't give a fuck what anybody say. A dude cannot go in the barbershop and sit here and say, oh yeah, man, you know, me and my wife went to the swinger party, man. This dude with a 12-inch dick fucked the shit out of my wife, but she was sucking dick and everything while I was getting the egg. You know what the dudes will say. You already know what they'll say.
You
Oh,
a faggot ass bitch.
you let some other nigga fuck your woman, nigga. Man, if it was me.
And the same people that say that slip into my DMs late at night and say, will you peg me, goddess?
See? See? And how dare you say you ain't sexy, please.
How
Stop
did you say
playing.
I wasn't sexy, baby? I said I'm not for everyone.
Yeah. But see, you for the right ones because you've been doing this for a long time.
Well, the thing is about it is I consider myself a pegging specialist and a prostate specialist and a milking specialist. That's been what I have focused on. And edging. I love edging. I I just I mean that makes my pussy wet every time I get the opportunity to edge someone to the point where they think they can't take it anymore. And then I stop and they can't come in my presence. That really makes my pussy wet.
see,
It's
see,
making my pussy wet just thinking about it right now.
she turned on right there just thinking about it. And I can't even help it because I'm a dominatrix. It's like,
You know what I'm talking about then,
yeah,
Daddy.
yeah, oh yeah.
She
Especially
can't
like if I know I'm about to make a
come
comment.
without your permission. He can't come without my permission.
See, that's the beauty of being an alpha. It takes an alpha to be with an alpha,
So
people.
the thing about it is they are still in control because they give you that privilege. It's a privilege to give you that
Mm.
authority over them. Like tomorrow, I'm meeting a submissive that wants me to be his key holder.
Mm.
I love being the key holder, baby.
Is what's crazy is I do have a male pay big because even to the point like I have a dude that'll sit there and think because I have male slaves that I'm gay.
Oh, that has nothing to do with your
No,
sexuality.
no, because I do not fuck none of my male slaves.
No, of course you don't. But they don't want you to.
That what people don't get. That
They
what
don't
people
want
thank you.
you to, baby.
That ain't the point.
And the thing is about it is some of my favorite submissives over the years have been strictly edge play and impact play.
And see, I'm gonna ask you a question. How far back you been pegging dudes?
The first time I pegged someone was 1989.
Damn. Can I ask what color was he?
He was African American.
So once again, people, what y'all doing ain't new. it's just y'all willing to put it on Twitter
Yeah.
or X as they call
Now, I will say that professionally,
it. Mm-hmm.
till I'd say 2005, the 70% of my clients were of white.
Mm-hmm.
But that had more to do with socioeconomics.
Yeah.
It had to do with anything else.
Mm. Well, shoot. I
Now,
mean, I ain't go.
say that 50% of my clients are African American.
Mm. So shoot. So have you drifted into doing like custom videos or anything like that?
Oh, I've been doing custom videos since I had to use my VHS camera.
Oh, oh, oh my
Oh, I
God.
transferred a few things onto digital from VHS.
Mm. See, people. It like this. I'm gonna modify a saying that I heard a lady say, and she been dominant before the recession, ladies and gentlemen. Stop playing.
Because
You
there
know.
were clients that would travel to my city
Mhm.
just to see me, and they would want something to jack off to when they couldn't see me, and I would custom make them videos.
See, it's like I tell people, the game never changes. It's just the technology does.
Exactly.
It's all the difference.
That's the only difference. And you know what? I am not going to lie, sweetheart. I have a steep learning curve on learning all these apps. I really do. And I am doing my best to learn all these apps, but it is a steep learning curve for me. It is not easy because, I'm used to just getting, like, before I started going into spaces, I
Mhm,
would just go on Twitter,
mhm,
post an ad,
mhm.
post my availability, and get off.
Yeah.
I never hung out. I never chatted with anyone.
Mhm,
I never responded to DMs. I never did any of that until 2023.
mhm. Yeah. I mean, it's the whole key is to
And
just
someone told me, "Oh, how you talking about you've been around all this time and I never heard of you?" I said, "Because you weren't supposed to hear about me, baby. It's about discretion."
see. I'm gonna tell you what it is. This generation is about clout. Our generation was about money, and the key to making money is these people didn't want
Being quiet
no.
about your shit.
Yeah.
Being quiet about your shit.
It basically smoke that over. Smoke that over. Because yeah, because the whole point is when they was paying you was to go away quietly.
Oh, no, no, no. This is what I tell people all the time. Even escorts, because I was an escort back in the day, because I couldn't fill my coffers with just Dom when I was working for the agencies and running my own agency and working as an independent back in the 90s. I couldn't make ends meet just being a Dom. So what I did escorting too. And what I always told people was this. First of all, never do anything you're going to regret. Sit down, write about it, think about it, decide what your boundaries are, what you're going to do, what you're not going to do, and how you're going to do it. Because someone's going to like your style. And you don't need everyone to like your style. You just need enough people to like your style to keep you employed. Now, the second thing is this: treat your body like it's your temple. Get tested on a regular basis. Don't take risks you don't have to take with your clients. They're going to respect you for it in the end. At one point, I was partnered with a woman who was running the only website at that time, because I told you I got on the web and
Mm-hmm.
had my first website in 95, who dealt with independence. It was not an agency. She dealt with only independent women. And me and her decided to come together as partners. Now, I was a monitor and a moderator and an administrator on her website, and we had private chat rooms. And I monitored the chat rooms when she couldn't. And, it was just the two of us. And we had the only game running in the city we lived in. as far as independents were concerned.
Mhm.
People who didn't have pimps, etc. And we vetted the women ourselves, so we made sure no one had drug problems, legal problems, etc., etc.
Mhm.
So we used to have what we called hoedowns every 3 months, and we would invite women from a quad state area to come to where we lived, and we would have parties. And the first night was girls only, and it was at my friend's house who I was partnered with, because she had a large home with lots of different rooms and all that stuff. Very conducive, to having a party. And I would do HIV STD prevention, because that's what I do for my civilian job. And I've done that since 1989. And I would educate them on negotiating safer sex with their clients, what kind of testing they needed. I would offer testing. I would do blood draws, oral HIV testing, whatever needed to be done. And I would bring in friends who would do reflexology and massage, so that we could break everyone up so no one's privacy was violated.
Mhm.
Okay. And then we would usually rent a room at a private facility so that we could have networking parties with potential clients. And all the clients had to be vetted by women we trusted. And we used to do what we called hoedowns.
Mhm.
Okay. And that was a way for us to get to know each other as professionals and to network. There were porn stars, there were, escorts, there were doms. I mean, there was just a variety of women. And the one that we had the highest output, like show up of women, was we had 25 women show up for one of our hoedowns. And that was a lot of people back in 2001 to show up at one hoedown. And so, anyway, long story short, I convinced the women who attended our hoedowns, with the exception of two,
Mhm.
not to give bareback blowjobs unless they had testing within the previous 48 hours.
Mhm.
And so, a lot of the guys who were used to getting bareback blowjobs got mad. And one of the two girls that, continued to, do whatever they need to do,
Yeah.
because they were survival,
Mhm.
escorts. Not everyone's a survival escort. Some people just do it as a secondary
Yeah.
business. Um, Told these guys that, oh, oh girl was the one that convinced everyone to stop getting bareback blowjobs. You know, because I let them know you can get gonorrhea, chlamydia, syphilis in the throat. You can, you can't necessarily get HIV that way, and you still can't necessarily get HIV that way. It's a very low risk activity for HIV, but it's a high risk activity for gonorrhea, chlamydia, syphilis.
Yeah, because pre-cum is a dangerous motherfucker.
Exactly. Exactly. And then if you're swallowing,
Yeah.
you don't know what you're swallowing, especially if you don't know what that client has done previous to showing up on your doorstep. It's just the truth. I mean, I hate to
No, I mean, no,
burst
it's
anyone's balloons, but it's not a low risk or no risk activity. Okay. And so what was funny is I'm moderating the men's room
mm,
on my friend's site. These guys had no idea I was the one moderating the men's room. And they're in there, these old school dudes that are so mad because, oh my God, this bitch had the nerve to convince all our favorites to stop giving us bareback blowjobs. We're like, oh, we're going to ban her. We're going to run her out of the business because no one's going to see her because she's convinced our favorites to stop giving us bareback blowjobs. Well, all the guys that were terrified of seeing pros because they were afraid of getting something started seeing me,
yeah.
because they were like, "Oh my God, this person's careful.
They convinced the girl, convinced the girls not to do baby blowjob, which was a good idea because if they wasn't tested,
How do
you
you know
out
what
for
you?
the clients.
How do you know what you're getting? And a lot of those girls, I never said anything, and I never said any name. Of course, I never said anything because, like I said, my civilian job since '89 has been in HIV and STI counseling and testing.
Yeah.
As I would do these girls testing, and they would be testing positive for shit consistently. And so, but I never said that. I just said this is a high risk activity, right?
Mhm.
So the guys who were afraid of seeing pros because they were afraid of bringing something home to mama started seeing me because they were like, oh my God, she's ultra careful. So the guys actually helped my business by trying to ban me instead of hurting my business.
Man, see, there you go. So I done held this lady up here for an hour, y'all know, and we ain't touched the surface. So that means I got to bring her back. So y'all know I got to ask the $1 million question.
Okay, baby. I'm
Can
ready.
Can I call you Smoke Buddy Baby?
Sure.
There you go. She'll be back here on the Smokers Lounge, and we gonna see if she be willing to come to the premium smoke room.
I just got to say this because I've had so many people question my ethnicity and my age.
Yeah.
And I want to clarify.
Okay.
I am French Creole and Irish Native American. And I'm definitely a woman of color. And I was raised by two parents who are both darker skinned than me and African American. Another thing is this. How is this for 54 years old? How is this?
Ooh. See. Yeah, we got to get her to the premium smoke room for real. You know what I'm saying? We got to get her in the premium smoke room.
Because let's be serious, baby. People think because you get older, you are no longer sexually viable. Honey, males and females are ultra sexually viable, no matter what age you are.
Yeah.
But you don't age out of being sexy.
Oh no. Hell no. See, that's why I always say this to all you motherfuckers that talk about women in their prime. Take the baby out of it. The woman in their prime is 35 and better because they know themselves and they accept themselves as who they are.
And they're comfortable with themselves and they're not going to bring any bullshit to your door.
Yeah. Pussy with no complications.
Absolutely, baby.
So with that being said, yes, we're gonna bring on the premium smoke room, and you know what that means: more provocative, more outlandish, more crazier, more wilder, all that shit.
I might have to bring toys.
Yeah, even toys. But you won't know unless you subscribe, people, on loyalfans.com. So with that being said, baby girl, tell everybody where they can spend money on you and find you.
Okay, well, you can find me on Twitter, Belle de Jour STL. You can also find me on FetLife, Belle de Jour STL. And probably by the time this broadcast drops, you could also find me on Loyal Fans, Belle de Jour STL, and Fansly, Belle de Jour STL.
So there you go, people. I hope you enjoyed this, because I damn sure did. So, you know what you submissive, you bitch sons of bitches need to do. And y'all know how I end this motherfucking shit too. Life is a learning experience. What's the point of the experience? If you haven't learned anything, smoke this over. My goddess, please say goodbye to the smokers.
À le prochain, chérie.
Peace.